Coach, your overall thoughts of the season? You know, group of new guys together, still get it to a Game 7 first
They
round.
did a good job. You know, I think that they hung together real well, and you know, they just played the second seed and played them 11 times. It's, you know, 5-6 in those 11 games. So they've done well for themselves, having never played with each other a minute before this season. And some of the young kids that developed in the D-League came up and did a good job during the season. So I think they were really quick to learn a new system and learn about each other as the season progressed. So I think they did a really good job. It's always disappointing to lose, but you have to congratulate the Nuggets. Michael Malone did a great job, he and his staff, GM Conley, putting the group together. They've been together a few years now, and it's starting to show. There's a reason why they're second in the West. So congratulations to those guys. I thought they did a great job. Tonight was an odd game. I thought, you know, both teams set basketball back in the first half. I'm surprised people stayed. You know, you might want to go home and get a glass of wine and watch it on TV. But it got better. The best part for us was we hung in there. I thought we played aggressively enough to win for about a quarter and a half. We just didn't have the same pace and aggressiveness for about 2.5 quarters, and then finally got it, and then made it a basketball game. So that's disappointing, but nice to see that the group didn't hang their heads and came back in and had an opportunity. But Denver, they did a great job. I'm really happy for them in a strange sort of way.
Your thoughts on Nikola Jokic? You had a great one in Tim Duncan. I don't want to put him up there with Tim, but your thoughts on the way he plays the game? Yeah, a little bit too early for that, but your thoughts on the way Jokic plays the game?
Have you been in these sessions before? I've said this like 10 times, and I'm not writing your article for you. Ask one of your colleagues. He's magnificent. Magnificent. I'll just leave it at that.
Pop, you mentioned.
Yes.
You mentioned to Jabari that this was a new team and you liked the way it came along. Are you kind of excited about a second year with the same group and your contract is up? Do you expect to sign a new one?
I won't be the same team because DeJounte Murray will come back. And, you know, he's our best defender. You know, he was our point guard when we lost him at the beginning of the year. That made it tough. Well, Derek wasn't there either, was he? He was hurt, but Bryn Forbes was the point guard. Scared the hell out of him. But it helped him progress as a player for sure. So it'll be a different team just simply because DeJounte will be back, assuming everything goes well. So we were expecting big things out of him. So the team will, you know, the team will be deeper, obviously, next year. But be that as it may, the West is tough. There's other teams that didn't make the playoffs. So you're going to be hungry to get into the playoffs. It's a lot of good teams. Okay. Have a good weekend.
Michael, there's so much work that goes into this ever since you got here. So when it happens, when you win a series against a team like that, what is sort of the first forefront emotion?
Yeah, obviously you're extremely happy and proud of your guys. You know, to come so close the last 2 years and miss the playoff by 1 game, and to challenge every player in our roster to come back an improved player, and the buy-in, the commitment, all season long, all summer long coming into the year. And, you know, this was a really hard-fought series. I mean, evenly matched. You know, I think if we played 20 times, it'd be 10-10. It's just that kind of a matchup. But I love the grit, the resiliency, the toughness we played with tonight. And even late when they made their run, I mean, they're 2 veterans, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, taking over the game. We never lost our composure. And for a young team to step up and make big plays down the stretch, Jamal Murray down the stretch was phenomenal. And, you know, Nikola struggled to make shots in that 4th quarter, but he winds up going out and getting a triple-double. But the first reaction, Nick, is just really, really happy and proud of our guys. This is the first time Denver's won a Game 7, I think, in 40 years. It's a hell of a moment, but as I told our players, enjoy it for a few minutes. It's a quick turnaround. We've got Portland in 2 days, so we'll turn the page and start getting ready for them tomorrow.
Coach, the defensive effort tonight was obviously great for you guys. The improvement in that regard this season has been remarkable. Just wondering if you could reflect on your determination to make that a reality and the work your guys have put in to change the numbers and the narrative. Yeah,
to me, it was really simple. The reason we have missed the playoffs 2 years in a row was because we were a bottom 5 defensive team, an elite offensive team, but we couldn't guard anybody. We were last in three-point defense last year. So to go from 30th to first in three-point defense is remarkable, and that's our players buying in, committing, giving multiple efforts. So I take great pride in that, the improvement, being a top 10 defense this year. And if you look at the 7 games, the 4 games that we won, our defense was really good. The 3 games that we lost, we guarded nobody. And we have a hell of a challenge waiting for us. A team that's been resting, getting ready, and Damian Lillard right now is playing at a whole nother level. So, you enjoy this for a second, and you start thinking about Portland and all the challenges they present. But proud of our guys, and the defense was a big part of our success in the series and on the season as a whole.
There was a lot of talk coming into the series about your guys' youth and kind of an experience and how it would look on a big stage when the brights were lighter. And Nikola comes out and just looks so poised throughout the series. To have your best player, who's also really young without a ton of any playoff experience, just have that calmness to him and that poise, can that trickle down to other guys on your roster?
You hope it does. I think it speaks to Nikola's greatness. I think it speaks to him never being afraid of the moment or never being overwhelmed. Like he always says, it's just basketball. Whether it's regular season game 54 or it's game 7, the end of the day, it's just basketball, and that's how he approaches it. And everybody else is different. They don't have Nikola's same personality, but anytime your best player has that kind of poise, leadership, that will definitely help the younger guys out. When things aren't going our way and they can look to him and they see calmness under pressure and under duress, I think that's a great thing to have, and that's how leadership is shown in many different ways, and that's why Nikola is a leader for our team.
Right here. You never trailed, but it was never easy. Have you ever had a game where you led basically from start to finish that was full of such, anxiety?
Anxiety is a good word, because, you got off to a great start. Our defense was just, incredible, especially in that first half. But we couldn't make a shot. And so we were unable to take advantage of our defense because we were struggling to make shots. I think somebody told me, Pop said we set the game of basketball back 20 years. But I was just happy our defense was in the game early, especially coming off of Game 6. But we could never build a big enough lead because of our inability to shoot the ball. We go 2 of 20 from the three-point line tonight, and you still find a way to win the game, which I give our guys a ton of credit for, because a lot of times when you're not making shots, that takes away from your defensive intensity. And I never felt that tonight. Our guys had a next play mentality, and what a marked difference from Game 6 to 7 in terms of how we played, physically, aggressive, and a hell of a lot more discipline.
Michael, you talked the last couple days and all season just about how the Nuggets have fought to get home court advantage. Have you ever seen a game end like that where, the Spurs couldn't hear whether or not to foul?
Yeah, there was kind of a crazy situation. Pop was on the court trying to get them to foul. They couldn't hear him. And our fans deserve so much credit. One of the things, I was just telling Josh Kroenke this, I love thinking about 4 years ago when I got this job, and you looked in the stands, it was witness protection night. There was nobody here. Oh, really? In 4 years, building this from within, building it internally with really good people, high character people, to see where we've come in 4 years, to being a team that won a Game 7 at home and advancing to the second round for the first time in a while is incredible. It's almost, surreal at times. And our fans have been phenomenal. The buy-in from our fans, that atmosphere tonight, every home game. We had the best home record in the NBA this year, yes, because we have very good players. But more importantly, our fans showed up and made this a tremendously difficult place to play in. So great atmosphere, and we know the Nugget fans are going to bring it for round 2.
Mike, you talked about the challenges of preparing for Portland. Obviously a different kind of team than what you just faced. how can you even approach something like that in one day?
Well, it's, one thing I can maybe allude to would be during the regular season, we had the best record and third best record in NBA history on the second night of back-to-backs. And that to me shows our team is able to turn the page, refocus, and understand who we're playing the next night. So hopefully we can use some of that getting ready for Portland, because it is a challenge. They've been resting. They've been waiting for us, or San Antonio, whoever won tonight. But the good thing for us is they're a division opponent. We played them 4 times. We know them well, and we know their personnel well. Still going to be a hell of a challenge, but I think our guys are definitely excited for that challenge.
Coach, you were saying before the game that you'd play Jokic 48 minutes if you had to. You came up about 4.5 minutes short.
I'll make up for it next game.
Was that maybe the most impressive thing about him tonight, that he hung in there against a very physical defensive approach from the opposition for almost 44 minutes? Yeah,
it's we ask him to do so much. I mean, so 44 minutes in and of itself is pretty remarkable in a Game 7 for a guy that's never played this many games. And then you think about how much we ask him to do offensively and defensively, being the centerpiece of our offense, a guy that makes plays for everybody throughout the night. And defensively, he's guarding every pick and roll or in the post. I started questioning myself a little bit to start that fourth quarter. He missed his first 3 shots, and I said, you know what, maybe I should have gotten him out, got him a quick break, because maybe that fatigue is starting to kick in. But then I said, I can't take him out. I got to keep him in the game, because even when he's not making shots, he has a tremendous impact on the game. He creates space for everybody else. Great players make all the other players better around them, and that's what Nikola does every night. So that's what we needed. I thought Mason Plumlee was terrific tonight off the bench, his best game of the series. I thought Malik Beasley's rebounding, 7 rebounds, was terrific. Late in the game, we had a possession. We got 3 or 4 straight offensive rebounds, which was a big part of that fourth quarter. So great team win. I'm so happy and excited for our group.
Coach, you generated a lot of open looks in the series, and you guys just missed a ton of them off of great action. Are there things that you think you can shore up and improve on going into that series versus Portland? And also, the other question is, going into these playoffs, the coaching staff, the players all said about how this would go. We don't know. We don't know until we get there. What did you learn from the first playoff series?
Oh, I think we learned that Nikola Jokic is a special player. You know, I knew he'd play well. I didn't know that he would average near a triple-double in 7 games. You saw Jamal Murray, I think, in the 4 wins, he was spectacular. The 3 losses, he struggled. And that's a constant conversation between he and I about his challenge to be a great player will be consistency. And tonight, on the biggest stage in the biggest game, we don't win that game without Jamal Murray. Big shot after big shot. I think he had 16 points in the second half. So you learned that our guys understand what it's going to take. They're resilient, they're tough, and they believe in one another, which is really strong. What was the first question?
Yeah, forget it.
Forget it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm one question at a time.
Coach, you've kind of mentioned this a bit. I haven't. There's a lot of things I think maybe people nationally don't know about this team, but the one thing I've never heard people nationally say or talk about is the grit and resiliency. You just mentioned that. Can you kind of talk about this series and maybe how that was the best example of them bending often but not breaking?
Yeah, I think, in the playoffs, it's such an important component, to have that grit and resiliency and toughness. It helped get us here, obviously, to win 54 games, to have the best home record in the NBA, to go 12-1, whatever it was, second night of back-to-backs. But when you're playing against a veteran team like that, with arguably the greatest coach in NBA history, Game 1, we didn't perform. What I liked about it, though, we answered the bell in Game 2. Game 3 was maybe our worst game of the series. Game 4 and Game 5 were great. Game 6, what I was really proud of, Adam, was after Game 6, I didn't have to get up in front of our team and tell them all the things they didn't do. They already knew it. They owned it. Before I even got into them, they knew that we weren't physical enough. They knew that we weren't disciplined enough. We weren't aggressive enough. And tonight, I think, was another great example of them learning from that and coming out there and doing it. I told them before the game, I said, there is no tomorrow. There's got to be no regrets. Don't wake up tomorrow morning and say, man, we weren't physical enough. Don't say we weren't aggressive enough. You got to leave it all out there, and we did that from the jump ball all the way to the end. So, and that's going to be really important moving on. You know, a division opponent, Portland, can't say enough about the job Terry Stotts has done and the level that team is playing at right now. Appreciate it, everybody.